It's 2018, nearly 2 years after the musician and journalist Patrick Messer coined the phrase the Millennial Whoop. But what is it, and is it truly killing pop music? What's up everyone, John from Beyond ARTV. It's time for a little discussion about something that I've been thinking about in recent times. The Millennial Whoop is a term that was coined in 2016 by Patrick Messer, and it refers to the whoa and all these other whoas and songs. You know what I'm talking about, but if you don't, let me quickly show you an example. As most of us probably know, pop is kind of at a stalemate in 2018. It's been that way for a few years, it's really been struggling, but I feel like a lot of that is due to the lack of creativity. And the Millennial Whoop and things that kind of mimic that are a huge part of the detrimental factors against it. It's something where if you hear that in the chorus of a song, you know, oh, this is supposed to be here to make it get stuck inside my head. The whoa, or the na, or the whatever it is. It's the exaggeration and the 5-3-5 in terms of like the rhythm of the song and the time signatures and the notes that it's going back and forth between. The 5-3-5 is what it's jumping between. And that's the one that's actually, I suppose, considered the Millennial Whoop, but I think that there's others that would qualify as well. Look to songs like Dynamite by Taio Cruz. The Lonely Island actually did a kind of funny parody, even if it was an unknowing parody of this for their movie Pop Star Never Stop Stopping. They had a song called Fuck Off, and that one just made perfect use of it because obviously that movie in general was kind of like talking about Justin Bieber, Connor for real, Justin Bieber, the whole image and everything there. And Justin Bieber has been guilty of using the Millennial Whoop in songs such as Baby. And here the Lonely Island had a song that did this. Since the article came out in 2016, there's been many other cases that have come out, many other songs that people have pointed to. Panic at the Disco's This Is Gospel, Kings of Leon, Use Somebody, Kesha and Pitbull, Timber. There's many other songs, even 21 Pilots did it on Ride. And what does this say about music in general? It's the sense that they're trying to get something ingrained in your memory. It's not necessarily people doing it intentionally, I feel like a lot of the time, and it doesn't always have malicious intent. It's just that it has been a trope that has been beaten into the ground. Do I feel like it's killing music? Maybe not necessarily, but it could really be damaging pop music. Pop music has kind of been in a weird state, especially with hip-hop dominating. Rock and pop are kind of in a lower place right now, and both of those genres are dabbling in hip-hop, but when they're not, you can rest assured that once that chorus rolls around, they're gonna have something in the background with a whoa, and yes, I right there am singing Thought Contagion by Muse. Even alternative rock bands are just kind of leaning towards the Millennial Whoop, and I'm kind of jaded by that. In my opinion as a music fan and a music critic, the catchiest choruses are the ones that stick in your memory because they tell a story. They continue the narrative of the song, or they just have something genuinely fun that you can belt out at the top of your lungs. Because you know that Kelly Clarkson had some of those back in her day, Avril Lavigne, many other pop artists, even stuff that I didn't like as much, but early Shakira stuff, and even if you looked at country, you had other people that were crossing over in the country pop realm, early Taylor Swift, other artists of that variety. But since we've moved past like 2008, 2009, this has become something that's been very, very prominent. Everyone from Kesha to will.i.am, the Black Eyed Peas, the Kings of Leon, Aurora, and many other artists are doing this. And like I said, it's bled into the alternative world as well. One of the first ever uses of the Millennial Whoop that I ever remember hearing was in One Direction's Live While We're Young. I didn't know what it was or what to call it at the time, but this track came out in 2012, and it started sticking in my head like I've heard this before. And then Owl City and Carly Rae Jepsen on Good Time. That one obviously with the wah-oh. That one is very guilty of just having a cop-out chorus and just trying to get some notes stuck in your head. And literally almost every single time, it's some iteration of oh or what and it's not really much else. They play off of the words and just kind of exaggerate them and drag them all over the place to give you the sensation that you're hearing something fresh when in reality you're just hearing the same thing over and over and over again. Bad thing about it for me is the fact that some bands and songs even that I like use this. I already mentioned Thought Contagion by Muse, which I do like that song in general, not their best, but it's okay. It just gets annoying on the chorus part of the track. And then like Ho Hey by the Lumineers, that track makes use of it, or even Monster by Imagine Dragons. Not the biggest fan of that band, but that track works for them. And then you've got something like Radioactive, where they just kind of drag it out, repeat things. Repetition in general is obviously always something that pop's been known for, but in recent years, I feel like we keep getting stuck on one word, and now it's become a big trend to either do the Millennial Whoop or something that is just like repetition, where they get caught on one phrase over and over and over again. Maroon 5 have been very guilty of this, as have many other pop bands and pop artists. When you hear this phrase used, the Millennial Whoop, obviously you think of millennials and the current generation of young people that are growing up, but at the same time you probably also think post-2010 songs. That's not always the case, as some of these songs date all the way back to the 80s, as some users have noted. Even Green Day, my favorite band, made use of this on Are We the Waiting in 2004. A track I recently rediscovered for the first time in almost a decade by the Rasmus, In the Shadows, uses this. This was in the early 2000s. Death Cab for Cutie used it on a track called Lightness, and even Symbols Eat Guitars used it on And the Hazy Sea. It's not just pop artists, but it definitely has bled into pop in a big way. When used effectively, it can make for a very catchy chorus, but the problem here is oversaturation. People are hearing this at every twist and turn, and there is never anything special or unique about it at this point. If the trend died off for 5 years and somebody put it in a song 5 years down the road, I might say, hey, okay, that was a nice little nod there, and if you don't do it to death, then I think it could be okay. And tracks like I Do Not Hook Up that came out in 2009 by Kelly Clarkson, I think that's a perfect example of when the Millennial Whoop can go right. But the fact is, artists are using it as a crutch at this point. They are leaning on it so hard that the tracks are crumbling. When you're listening to the radio, for example, or pop music, and somebody has a playlist of mainstream hits, what do you think when you hear these songs? Do you think that something sounds very similar to you? Do you think that these tracks all kind of blend together? Or no, do you think that it's kind of unique and they're all able to put their own perspective on it? Honestly, my opinion, you know where I stand. I think it's very, very lazy. I've always talked about cop-out choruses, and I think that Blink-182 were very guilty of that on their most recent album, California, that came out in 2016. That one had many inexcusable offenses of the na-na-na, what-oh over and over again. It wasn't always necessarily the Millennial Whoop, but it was something that just felt lazy because they couldn't come up with any words, so why not just sing na-na-na-na-na-na-na? Take it how you will in terms of my opinion, but it's just where I stand on this issue, so to speak, in music. I don't think that it's the worst thing ever. It's just that it's annoying, and at this point, when somebody switches over to pop or a band starts doing this with their music, it's just a facepalm worthy moment where I'm just like, why are you trying to be everybody else? Where is the uniqueness and where is the individuality? I think we had that somewhat in the 90s and the 2000s, and I feel like now we're kind of slipping back into like the 80s once again, where everything was having the exact same drum beat and everything was having the same synth style and everybody was going for the exact same vocal pattern as Sting or Axl Rose. And now we're at this point in 2018 where everybody is just trying to be something. Anyways, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section down below, and please drop a like on the video while you're here and subscribe if you are new to the channel. I post videos several times a week, not only on this channel, but ARTV as well, my main channel. Make sure you check that out, linked in the description, and subscribe to both of my channels. If you're able to support me on Patreon, then please do so with this annotation over in the corner of the screen, and see a couple of recent videos linked right here. All of my social media accounts can be found in the description down below, and other than that, I'll see you soon on Beyond ARTV.